Hi everyone, welcome to Tales of Dread. In this episode, we'll hear from a couple who met someone from the other side in a very strange way. But before we get to the stories, did you know that science has shown that clicking the red subscribe button can make you 28% happier? Let's start the stories now. I didn't think much about the supernatural before, but now I do. We had a big year in 2013. Abby and I were going to get married in October. 3 months before the wedding, we found out that we were going to have our first child. We decided to buy our first house instead of adding more stress to our lives. We had been renting an apartment with 2 bedrooms near DC. We lived in the city for 2 years, but the rent was so high that we decided it would be better to move to a suburb in Virginia. I knew it would take me a long time to get to DC. Even with all the traffic, it was worth it to be able to buy our own house. We needed more space and could buy a house for less than what we were paying each month to rent our small apartment. Abby was a nurse in a department not too far from where we lived. As soon as we heard she was having a baby, we knew she couldn't keep working 12-hour shifts. She planned to stay at work while she was pregnant. But since we were moving anyway, and she was so tired because she was pregnant, we decided she should stop working full-time. With the prices of homes in Northern Virginia, we had to figure out how to pay for a new house with only my income. We could not have bought our dream home. We looked at a lot of houses, and it didn't take long for us to realize that we couldn't afford a new or recently updated house in the area we wanted. We decided that we would look at a fixer-upper if it was in a good area, and had a big enough lot. We were almost ready to give up looking for a house. When we finally found the perfect house, it wasn't perfect as it was, but it was in a great place, on a great little lot, and it was well within our budget. The ad for the house said that it had a lot of potential. I saw the potential right away, but Abby had to be persuaded. The house was so interesting. It was over 100 years old, which was much older than any house I had ever thought I would buy. We both liked all the special details. We didn't see much in most of the homes that looked the same. We went on a tour of this house, which only had 3 bedrooms, but each one was very big. It had a big, unfinished basement, which Abby didn't care much about. But I thought it would be perfect for a gym or a workshop. Abby found it hard to get past the strange paint colors and old kitchen. But there were some great improvements, like the roof, the heating and cooling system, and the windows. I was worried at first that a house this old wouldn't be cool enough because it didn't have central air conditioning. That would have stopped me from going any further. But the people who lived there before only stayed there for 2 years and put in a top-of-the-line V.R.F. The whole house was kept very cool by the system. Abby did like the area, and after looking at the numbers, we decided that we could immediately update the kitchen. This was enough to convince Abby that this house was a good idea. So, we offered the full price on the listing because there was already an offer on the table. The next day, our agent called to tell us that our offer had been accepted. I was happy because Abby had already made plans for how we would live in that small house. She had no idea what was going to happen in that house. Just 3 weeks before our wedding, we closed on the house and moved in right away. We didn't have nearly enough furniture to fill our new house. We didn't really have that much furniture. And most of the things we did have were things our parents no longer wanted. We ordered a new bedroom set, but it was late, so when we moved in, we had to sleep on an air mattress. After moving, Abby was very tired. So, she got ready for bed early. Around 8 o'clock on the first night in the house, most likely. My brother Mitch had come up from North Carolina, and we were trying to put together a shelving unit that had been taken apart for the move. We didn't think the job would be as hard as it was, and I'm sure the beer didn't help. Mitch was going to spend the night at her parents' house, but he changed his mind after a few drinks and decided to sleep on our couch instead. I went to bed around midnight, and Abby was already fast asleep. I tried not to wake her up as I got into bed, since I knew she was tired. I didn't expect the air mattress to be as comfortable as it was, or maybe I was just very tired. But I fell asleep right away no matter what. I hadn't been asleep for very long before I woke up shivering. I knew the air conditioning worked well in this house, but I was still cold. Abby was still sleeping when I looked over at her. I got up to see if one of the boxes in her room might have a blanket in it. I was getting out of bed. I could have sworn I saw a movement that looked like someone ran out of our bedroom. Abby was sleeping, and we didn't have any pets or anything else, so this made no sense. So I thought I was half asleep and making things up. I was using my phone's light to look through a box for some blankets when I realized that the room wasn't even cold anymore. So I went to bed again. Her windows didn't have any blinds. So, the next morning, Abby and I both woke up as soon as the sun came through our windows. I asked her if she had slept well on the air mattress, and she said she had once. I stopped going in and out of the bedroom for good. I didn't understand, so I asked her what she meant. She said she heard me open and close the door to my bedroom and walk up and down the hallway. She asked me what I was doing. I didn't know what she meant, so I thought she must have been dreaming. She seemed sure about it. So I just said, "Sorry if I woke you up," and that was the end of it. Looking back, I guess that should have been more alarming. Mitch had already left when I went downstairs, so I knew I wasn't walking up and down the hall. He asked me if Abby had trouble sleeping when we talked later that day. I told him no, and he told me that he kept hearing someone walking or pacing up in the hallway. He told me that he knew it wasn't me because when I walk, I sound like an elephant, but this was quiet. I told him that he was crazy and that he must have had more to drink than I thought. But I did think it was odd that Abby had heard the same thing. The next 2 weeks were packed with activities. While getting ready for our wedding, we were still unpacking and setting up the new house. Also, I was getting used to my new way to get to work. Even though I knew my commute would be longer, I wasn't ready for how much time I would spend on the road. I was lucky enough to be able to change my schedule so I could start going to work an hour earlier. This let me beat some of the traffic going into and out of the city. We had a wonderful wedding day, and our honeymoon in Punta Cana was the best time ever. After all the work we had to do over the past few weeks, a week of lounging on the beach and by the pool was just what we needed, and we enjoyed the time away. After our honeymoon, we were glad to be back home. Abby was starting to feel better and was looking forward to starting the kitchen remodel, which we did. As soon as we got home, Abby and I tore down most of the house in one weekend. The next week, a contractor friend of mine started working on the kitchen. Since our kitchen was destroyed one night, we've been eating out, getting takeout, or microwaving food while sitting on the couch. Abby was adamant that we have a real dinner at home. We couldn't actually cook in the kitchen, so I grilled some chicken and vegetables. Abby set up the table for a dinner with candles. At first, we said we didn't need a house with a formal dining room because we didn't think we would ever use it. But this dining room was something special, especially when the candles were lit. Abby started coughing so hard that no one could stop her. I asked her if she was okay, and she said she felt like she couldn't breathe. She was breathing, though, because she could talk, but every time she tried to eat, she coughed. She was worried about the baby, and started to panic. So, She called her doctor to find out if she should go to the hospital. She was on hold with the doctor, and as soon as she left the dining room, she stopped coughing, apologized for calling, and said she was fine now. In our new house, we got used to living there. Neither one of us was getting much rest. Abby said it was because she was pregnant. I tried to tell myself it wasn't anything, but I could hear what sounded like quiet footsteps in the hallway at night, almost like a child was walking or running down the hall. We finished remodeling the kitchen before Christmas, so we could spend the holidays in our new place. In March, our daughter Lily was born. When Lily thinks back, her early years are kind of a blur. Work was getting more and more difficult. Abby liked being with Lily at home. But I know she misses working because she loved her job as a nurse so much. She said that there were times when it seemed like someone else was in the house. She really couldn't say what she meant. When Lily was 3 years old, Abby found out that a primary care doctor she knew from the neighborhood was looking to hire a part-time nurse to work with another nurse. Abby wasn't ready to go back to work full-time, especially since daycare costs a lot. Abby got the job and usually worked 2 days a week, but sometimes she worked 3. We found a great preschool for Lily, and she was so excited to start going. She wore her little pink backpack around the house for weeks before preschool even started. Lily loved preschool, and her teacher said she was doing great. Lily loved the other kids. But because we dropped her off before most of the other people, we didn't get to meet many of the others. Children in her class heard Lily talk all the time about her friend Anna. We heard about Anna's pretty dresses and long braids. Lily wanted red hair like Anna's and all of a sudden wanted to wear dresses every day, like Anna did. I think it was a Saturday when it happened. I walked by Lily's bedroom, where she was talking, laughing, and singing. She just couldn't help but laugh. She told me that Anna is funny when I asked her what was so funny. I thought she was laughing at something Anna did at school. I asked Lily if her teacher thought Anna was funny. She looked confused and said, "Daddy, that's silly. Anna doesn't go to school." I didn't understand. So I asked where she and Anna played. She said, "Daddy, this is where she lives," and then she laughed and started talking to herself again. I told Abby what had been said. She said she would find out about Anna from Lily's teacher. And when she did, we found out that there was no Anna in her class. Lily's teacher told Abby that it's not unusual for kids that age to have imaginary friends. We decided it was nothing to worry about because Lily's nation was so vivid. The weekend before, we decided to host a Friendsgiving party with some of her neighbors. Thanksgiving. We invited 3 families. 2 of them had little girls about the same age as Lily. Abby set up the kids' table next to the adults' table, and Lily insisted that Anna needed a seat at the table. I thought this was going too far, but Lily made it hard for Abby to say no. Lily started crying as soon as we started to eat. This was not at all like her. She cried out, "Mommy, help Anna." Abby ran right over to Lily, but Lily was pretty much laughing out loud. She asked Anna to help her cough. Mommy Abby stayed calm and tried to comfort her. Lily ran from the dining room to her bedroom, and Abby followed. The rest of us tried to finish dinner, but everyone was very nervous. Everyone knew about Lily's imaginary friend, Anna, but none of us had ever seen Lily act like that. The party had to end early, so no one stayed for dessert. When I went to see how Lily and Abby were, they were both sleeping on her little bed. As I left Lily's room, they looked so sweet, and my heart was still breaking for her because they had never seen her so upset before. I thought I heard Lily say, "Bye, Anna." Lily stopped talking about Anna after that dinner. We didn't want to upset her, so Abby and I didn't ask about Anna, and we all stayed out of the dining room. In January, Abby still did great at preschool. She was the next student of the month. This meant that she got a creative poster about herself to share with the class. Lily loves to have her picture taken. So Abby's phone is full of pictures. She was looking at pictures for the preschool poster when I heard her say, "I don't know why Lily is sitting on the floor watching TV." Abby walked up to her and showed her the phone. She asked, "Honey, Lily, did you take this picture?" She loved to take her phone around the house and take pictures of strange things. So I didn't really think about it much until I heard what Lily said. "That is indeed Anna. We play hide and go find." Abby tried to hide how surprised she was, but she looked like she could hardly keep her balance. She walked up to me and put her phone down on my lap. The picture she showed me is shown here. We still live in the same house. Lily is 8 years old now, and she loves being a big sister to our new baby Lily. Since that dinner when she was 3, she hasn't talked about Anna. Abby and I will never forget that dinner, but I don't know if she does. I guess we'll never know for sure what happened that night or in this house before that. It was where we lived. This story takes place in upstate New York, more specifically in the Lake George Wild Forest, where a former paratrooper went into the woods and never came out. Tom Messick's wife said that he was a man's man who would never turn down a chance to help someone. She doesn't remember anyone ever saying something bad about Tom or not liking him, which is a big deal since she had been married to him for 56 years when he went missing. Tom loved to camp and had a lot of experience in the outdoors. He was always excited to show his family how much he loved the outdoors. During and after his time in the military, he found time to hunt and fish, which were his true loves. When you add in his wife and children, Tom had everything he needed. Tom started hunting with his father and grandfather when he was a child, and he's been hooked ever since. In November 2015, Tom Messick and his hunting buddies took their annual hunting trip with their sons. This trip has only been topped by Tom's marriage to Beverly for the past 55 years. The same place, the same core group of guys, with a few changes here and there over the years. Of course, Tom was in danger of missing the trip this year. He had just gotten over shingles, and his years in the military had worn him down. When he was 20, he had an accident with gunpowder that made his right eye 90% blind. All of his helicopter jumps had pretty much ruined his ears and knees. Tom wasn't going to miss the trip, though. He was a good father and friend. On November 15th, 7 men drove 2 miles on a gravel road called Lily Pond Road to get to Lily Pond. The trip took about 12 minutes. The only reason they went on this hunt was to say that they did. No one had any high hopes. It was around noon, in the middle of the day, and they only planned to hunt for about 2 hours. The men put their trucks in a parking lot near the pond and made a plan. They decided that the 4 older men, who were all in their 80s, would walk down an access road near the bottom of the hill, and their 3 younger sons would walk the snowmobile path up the hill, turn around, and push any deer in the area toward the men standing at the bottom of the hill. A deer drive is a way to hunt in this way. Tom was one of the 4 older men who went down the access road. They had their walkie-talkies, rifles, and all the clothes and gear they needed to go hunting. When they got to the spot they had agreed on, they put 100 yards between each man and told them to walk 30 to 40 yards into the woods and find a place to sit. They were just supposed to stay put and wait for the other guys to push any deer toward them. As the 4 men spread out, Tom was the farthest away. The men were about 100 yards apart, and there was a forest between them. Nothing too weird. They talked back and forth on the walkie-talkies while they waited for a chance to do something. Now seems like a good time to say that the men had been going on this trip for 55 years.